Good evening. We are now moving into our lesson 9 in Adeptship, where we are talking about the divine plan. The divine plan has also been called the Dharma in the East. The Dharma. There was the Buddha, the Sangha, which is the community, and the Dharma, which is the teaching. But the Dharma means fulfilling the divine plan. Each one of us as a soul coming into embodiment is given a divine plan. We meet with the Lords of Karma, also called the Great Karmic Board, before we come into embodiment, and we work out our divine plan. And there are some very specific junctures in our life where we will meet very specific individuals or people or places that we go to that will have a tremendous impact on us. This has all been worked out ahead of time, the major junctures of our life. Of course, it's also dependent on our karma. And so if we balance more karma with the violet flame, we may have an accelerated divine plan. That's why there can be multiple tracks sometimes. And we can't be a slave to, for example, what's written in our astrology, or for those who do palmistry, which can be fraught with a lot of error. We don't want to be limited to any of these things, because when we walk with God, when we walk with Christ, when we do the violet flame, when we accelerate our being through decrees, we can move beyond the limitations of fate, or what has been called fate. We can even be given an extension of life. So the divine plan is what we have to do before we can be granted the ascension. And so my recommendation would be to always do more rather than less. And another thing that I teach my children, and that I had to adopt for myself, is this idea that we try to shun or stay away from the concept of good enough. Oh, it's good enough. Good enough is not the Ascended Master Chila's mantra. The Chila of the Master pursues excellence in all things. We want to master our life. We want to do best. We want to shine. We want to outshine ourselves. We're competing against ourselves. We're competing against our past self. We're not competing against others. But we want to accelerate into the light so that we can ultimately get the message that God gave to Jesus. This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. So, fulfilling our divine plan is very important. And there was a book once that was called What Color is My Parachute? Well, your divine plan could be relatively simple to understand. There are some children who incarnate and they know, I'm going to be a veterinarian, or I'm going to be a singer, or I'm going to be a scientist, and they really have it clear. And then there are other people who don't have it so clear, and they might go through 4 years of college and it's still not so clear. And then some people, like myself, we can have what appears to be hundreds of lives in one, where our life takes us all over the place, in all different places and countries, and with people and with karmas, and with everything from being a homemaker to being a professional to all kinds of different jobs and tasks. And it's all karma balancing. Sometimes we have to do all different kinds of things to balance the karma. So some of us have more of a hodgepodge manifestation of our divine plan, but as we move through life, it will become more apparent what it should be, especially if we are working with the Masters and calling for the highest manifestation of our divine plan and praying for it to manifest into form. And so it's important to realize that to get to that place, we have to first balance the smaller karmas. Remember what God says in the Bible, if you are faithful over the little things, I will make you ruler over the big things. We have to be faithful over the little things. We have to balance the karmas. If we have too much pride and say, well, this job is beneath me or that's beneath me, then we won't get to the next place if we're a chela on the path. We have to do whatever is in front of us to do and to do our best with it. I remember a teaching once where Mother Mary said, put the love in it, whether you're sweeping the floor, washing the dishes, or whatever it is that you're doing. There's no such thing as a menial task. It's all love. And some of these tasks actually help us expand the pink plume, the love plume of our threefold flame. It's clear when we're doing more mental or intellectual or wisdom work that we're using the crown chakra, but or the yellow plume. And in the case of work that's physical, like people who build homes, architects, gardeners, anything having to do with the physical plane, people working in a kitchen and all that, that's going to be more blue, right? Blue is the plume of God power. It's the physical manifestation of the physical plane and body, whereas yellow is the mental body. And pink is the emotional body and the love flame. And a lot of these menial tasks, or so-called menial tasks, are actually ways to expand our threefold flame and to expand the pink. And that includes the duties of a homemaker or a housewife if you're a woman, or even if you're a man and you want to help look after things in your house. You know, Mother Mary gave a teaching once where she said she taught Jesus how to sew. She taught Jesus how to do the basic things of cooking and cleaning. It's important to be well-rounded. That's part of our divine plan also. We have to show mastery in all areas. And we have to be willing to start at the beginning. When Jesus went to see the Hierophant of Egypt, he was very advanced already as a soul, and the Hierophant recognized that. And then Jesus said, I will start at the very beginning. I'm not, even if I have the attainment for university classes, I'm starting at the beginning. Why was that? Because there is a humility and a deepening that can take place when we are revisiting the very beginning again and again and again. Like in this case, these classes in Adeptship, we're revisiting basic concepts, but we're adding to them the next round and the next round and the next round. And the mantra of God is, behold, I make all things new. So we don't find ourselves bored by doing the beginning again, right? So what is your divine plan? The ultimate divine plan is to make it home to God, to ascend in this life. The ultimate outpicturing of the divine plan is to create as much good karma as you can in every sphere and aspect of divine consciousness so that you can add to your causal body. The ultimate divine plan is to do the violet flame and invoke the various spiritual protections so that you can accelerate spiritually no matter what you're doing. And then based on that, you may be able to work on your divine plan, the one that you find most appealing, either part-time or full-time. Your divine plan may be a part of your professional career or it may not. In some cases, divine plan means to have children. Sanat Kumara once said that the greatest service we can give to life is to be parents and to have children. And so having children and supporting those children may be the divine plan for your life. And again, you may have many chapters. And one of the things I've noticed with people who have been on the path of the Ascended Masters for a long time is that they tend to have many lives in one. They tend to have many different episodes or chapters in their life, more than the average person out there. Because they're not necessarily coming in to just be with one person and to have one job and to then retire and that's it. You know, we have seen even in the case of our beloved Elizabeth Clare Prophet, she had 4 husbands. Each one of those was a karma that had to be balanced, and of course an opportunity too, especially when she was married to her twin flame Mark Prophet. You see, we can't ever fully understand why we have to go through the various things that we have to go through. She explained when she went traveling all over the world, and She was balancing karma in Africa, balancing karma in South America, balancing karma in Europe. Now we have the internet, which allows us to do that karma balancing without even having to get up from our seat, which in many ways is a lot more convenient. And so the gift of the internet is actually Saint Germain's technology, and it's a great gift. It's a great gift from Saint Germain that he has given us in this Aquarian age to be able to multiply our ability to reach people and to do good works on a larger scale to balance karma more quickly. So we must not take for granted the internet. We must not take for granted the accelerated technology, which when it is put to right use can be a tremendous acceleration for our divine plan. I remember when I was in high school, the first computer class I had was very boring. It was just ones and twos, and it was learning basic computer programming. And I said, this is so boring. I said, don't you know we're supposed to be able to use this, the computers to see the whole world and to learn everything there's to learn about the whole world and to communicate with the whole world? I had the inner memory or prophecy of the internet. I knew in my soul that this was coming, that this would be released, but it was like at least 10 years before it was released that I had this experience. And so our souls know what's coming. When my children were little, they talked about flying cars. They said, we're going to have flying cars, and they were talking about flying cars, and I thought, surely there's going to be flying cars. And we know that in China they already have flying cars, and we probably will end up getting them here as well. So these are all parts of the divine plan. Souls study for their divine plan in the retreats before they come into embodiment, those especially who are souls of light. And then we can go again during sleep to the retreats to gather more information and direction about the next steps and stages of our divine plan. We've been told that the Master, known as the Great Divine Director, holds in his causal body the divine plan of every man, woman, and child on this planet, and so we can call to him if we need assistance in figuring out the next step of our divine plan, which Mother Mary called the next right step. Always look for the next right step. And so we began our lesson on the divine plan and the Dharma with the Buddha in the Sangha. And so we can end with the Buddha by looking at the Eightfold Path. Every aspect of the Eightfold Path has to do with our divine plan. But there's one in particular called right livelihood, where we want to make sure that the way that we earn our living does not harm life or ourselves in any way. Our divine plan and its expression through our livelihood is a sacred adventure and a sacred contract. And so no matter what the juncture we're at in the road, we need to always follow the next right step and adhere to the Eightfold Path. And so this concludes our teaching on the divine plan. Thank you for watching. God bless.